Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as always back on F1 2019, and this is the F1 Esports 2020 qualifying event once again, which I did a video of myself, but this time here, as requested, this is V-Sire, who is top of the leaderboard, and I had to share this because this is just an incredible time, absolutely incredible. He's ahead by an absolute mile, and this is my very first time watching this, and I basically just wanted to talk through it and just really give my thoughts. First of all, he's on the controller. Me being on the controller myself for majority of the time I played F1, it's very good in the wet. Controller, I think, always in the full wet has had better traction. I always felt personally, and I still do to this day, and he agrees with it as well. It's definitely better on traction. You could just have a much better feeling in the wet. As he goes around the outside of car sides, we pretty much get him in the same place as I got him. I got him into this corner here, so far we're kind of ish level. But I notice he's using low ERS and he's using medium, and let's go back to Rich and now overtake. He is from Brazil, so it's in Portuguese, Spanish. But the thing I always felt was good about the controller, particularly in the wet, is that you just have so much more feedback going through your hands. You don't have that with the pedals on the wheel unless you have like a motion rig or something like that. But he gets Giovinazzi on the right hand side, whereas I had to overtake him going fully around the outside. He says a 43.4 on the first lap, which is just incredible. And so far, I think I did a 43.8 on the first lap, so it's only about 0.4 difference so far, but he's just been able to get them much more cleaner, and he goes up into 5th gear, 4th gear, and I think he's doing that because it just gives him a lot more stability going to here. Let's see, he went up to 4th gear again, 3rd gear, so using a pretty similar gear choices, but he likes to keep it in low ERS, kissing that curb, but getting some very good traction. And back to what I was saying, I feel on the controller, it definitely, because since you have the vibration of the triggers going through your hands, and your hands is what's controlling the throttle and the brake, you can literally almost feel it when it's going to lock up. And when you're in wet conditions on the controller, the force feedback of vibration pretty much like doubles, and the more force feedback you have, the better it is. And I think if we had that on the pedals on the wheel, I think we would probably go and be quicker as well. Another thing as well, the steering lock. I noticed the thing you can't really help. On the controller, you kind of have a set steering lock, which is the reason why most cases in the drive, when you have to change direction very quickly, like the first sector of the Zuka here, it's probably not actually going to be beneficial because you can actually change the steering lock quicker than you can. Or on the wheel, you can change it much quicker. But the benefit of this in the wet, is you really don't need to do that. It's a lot slower motion, and if it forces you not to turn too much, as he does a 43.2 now, and I think my fastest lap was a 43.1. So fastest lap is pretty similar, and he's using medium going through here now. But back with the steering lock, you can see here he's not overturning the car, and that's because he can't, because he's on the control. Whereas with me, I think if you watch my footage, we're definitely putting a lot more rotation going into it, and sometimes if you turn too much, it actually gives you more understeer, and it actually heats up the fronts, and you just get more understeer stuff as well. So I think it gives you a perfect degree of lock for each corner. But of course, try it out for yourself if you think it's easy, because I can assure you it's not easy. And I think on the games at 2017, I was very good in wet conditions. I won my esports qualifying race against Bonner Weiss or House. A lot of really good guys. I won that by like 10 seconds in like a 11 lap race or something. And I think I won AOR on the controller in 2017 in Australia in the wet. So yeah, this would be a pretty good matchup. Maybe I'll go back on this one day and give him a good match on this. But you can see here he's electing to use no ERS. Very similar to how I'm driving, but I think it's just those tiny details of when you just get in the throttle that fraction earlier, and he's going just about flat out as well. think he's using 311 wing, from what he said to me. He's using lean going through here. You can see not oversteering the car because he can't, but just getting some very, very good traction. I think mainly all of this is just through traction. See, 43.2. So looking at my run, I said on my second and third lap it was pretty poor. I think we can definitely be right up with this. You just got to just nail it every time. So I think the raw speed, definitely with the wheel in the wet, it's absolutely there. I think it is even faster than the pad in the wet, but it's just, you have to get your degrees of turning, you have to get spot on each time, whereas he's only turning about, that 45 degrees max. You can see about 45 degrees max, whereas sometimes I'm turning like maybe 50, 60 sometimes, which is maybe good for corners such as this here. You can see I think I'm definitely quicker through corners like this, but going through corners like in the hairpin here, it just, when you're not steering so much, it kind of gives you, you're not over rotating the car. So he's turning in here, but the traction he has here is short shifting. He actually decides to short shift. I saw a few people comment on my last videos why I don't short shift. For me, it's all down to your personal style. I just kind of like revving it out, because sometimes if I short shift, I actually find it more difficult on the traction. I'm not really someone who likes to short shift, and that's something that's worked for me for a very long time. So if it works for you, it works for you. Different driving styles aren't going to suit everyone. Same with setups and stuff as well. We can see so far he's going even quicker now. So as I said in my video, he actually downshifts there as well. You should be getting a little bit quicker, which is why I was doing like 43.1 as my best lap at the end, but he's just able to just get on it pretty quickly. He's actually caught Ricardo at the start of lap 51, so I think we overtook him at the end of lap 51, so he's caught him pretty quickly. He's on a 42.9 now, which is just, it's crazy, and he gets him at the perfect time. He actually makes a little bit of contact of him, so he's pretty lucky that he didn't get any warning or anything, but you have to be pretty fortunate with the AI as well. The AI doesn't drive exactly the same each time. Sometimes they even spin off by themselves in like previous events in the past and stuff, so you have to be pretty fortunate. And in this one, he managed to get through that pretty cleanly. He might have lost a little bit of time in turn one, but so far it's good. Let's see here. I think he's hardly down on his first sector, so he's literally lost little to no time. But it's just the traction. I think the traction is the main difference. I think through sector one, he probably loses a little bit of time, because when we were looking at our race directors comparing it, I think my first sector was actually a little bit quicker than his. But corners such as this, he gets a very, very nice exit, going completely flat out, staying nice and tight. And let's see how he goes into spoon. So he puts it down to no ERS. Likes to keep it in medium in the fuel mix, I can see. But again, that's all just your personal preference. Short shifts out of here, so it gets a very good traction. Actually losing the rear end just a little bit, which is why I tend to actually like to rev it out, let the revs do the work for me. And he's leaving it in 7th gears, going purple his middle sector again, so he's keeping up the pace. It's just very, very hard to maintain this pace all the time. But again, I think under braking, I rarely see him lock up, which, as I said, on the controller, you have that rumble strip through the brake and the throttle. For me, I felt so confident on the brakes when I was using it, as he does 43.1. Yeah, I just felt really, really confident when I did it, because you could just, once you get that certain amount of vibration, you knew you were about to lock ups, and then you could just trail brake and back off. Whereas on the pedals, sadly, you don't have that. You only have it through your hands, which is a little bit of a shame. And in a real race car, that's what the main difference is. But you can get used to it. It's muscle memory. I used to even drive with no force feedback on the controller, like in games like 2012 and 13. So, as I said, it's all personal preference. But going through here, uses high. And again, just being very, very consistent. The lap times, apart from that 42.9, are not really too different to my lap times at the end. It's just those few tenths and just getting through that AI as smoothly as he did. That's what makes up. And he gets a very, very nice exit here. So short shifting again, keeps it in rich, then goes into overtake. Still got a little bit of fuel to play with, and he's going to add no ERS. Keeps it in standard, so again, he's not electing to use lean mix or anything. Goes a little bit wide, so he's definitely lost some time here. That was not perfect by any means a stretch, and I think that's where it struggles. In the like the long sweeping corners, I think that's where the wheel is definitely better, because you can just control the rotation. But despite that, he's still going quicker, which is pretty crazy. I think if he nailed it, I think he'd be like 42.7, 42.8 or something. I might give this a go myself on the controller. It will take me a day probably to get up to speed, but as he does a 43.0, so again, very, very consistent. Moving on to the last lap of this now. And yeah, I might give this a go myself, but I haven't played on the controller properly for probably like a year and a half, probably 2 years, like competitively or something. I decide to always ride that curb here. He decides to miss it, and as I was saying before, you either want to fully commit and miss it, and he's deciding to fully miss it. And the lines here don't look particularly great, so again, I would say it's probably the wheel through the long sweeping corners, because you can only really go full lock left, full lock right in the pad. There's no real in between. You can't really choose exactly how much steering lock you want to do. But I think it's mainly, from what I can see here, it's just the traction. The traction is just super, super strong. He keeps it in 6th gear. I go 5th gear through here. But again, I think some people find it more stable if they do that, whereas me, I always tend to like to do a little bit of engine braking. So again, different style to get some good exit off here now. And let's see, as I said, the first sector didn't look particularly strong. Gets it better this time, so he didn't run out as wide this time. He ran out 2 out wide. It really does unsettle the car, and I'm predicting this is going to be a purple middle sector. I can't see this not being a purple middle sector, as Vettel does say 42.9 and Hamilton replies with 42.8. As you can see, it's a purple middle sector, going almost flat out through here, and he's running out of ERS now. Again, never really seen lock up going to this one, climbing all over the left-hand curb, and let's see. Yeah, he gets such good traction off here. It's absolutely insane. And he goes across the line. And he does improve. I think he did a 42.9 again, I think, if I could read that right. And yeah, that was a really, really impressive run. I think there's still time for him as well. But from what I can see, he just had such good traction. He got past Ricciardo at the right time, got Giovinazzi at the right time, and he was just super, super consistent. And as I said, it's much easier said than done. Believe me, give it a try if you like. So I wanted to share that with you, give credit to him, follow his channel, follow his Twitter. A really amazing driver. Would have been a really good matchup back in the day if I was still racing on the controller. But yeah, really, really impressive. And that's an example of how to get 207,000 points in the F1 Esports event. Again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you soon. Peace.